A retiree named Paul arrived in the Philippines with 2 suitcases and a quiet plan. He wanted slower mornings, warm weather, and a chance to finally breathe after decades of working. He chose the Philippines because it felt friendly and affordable. 3 months later, his sister flew in to take him home. Paul was not at the beach. He was in a hospital bed. His savings were gone. What happened to Paul was not dramatic or criminal in the way most people imagine danger. There was no cartel, no violent robbery, no movie-style event. It was ordinary life here, catching someone unprepared. A chain of small decisions that slowly closed in on him until there was no easy way out. The Philippines is an incredible country. Millions of foreigners visit every year. Many live here happily and safely. The people are warm. The culture is generous. The lifestyle can feel freeing. But there are real dangers most travel content never talks about. Not because anyone is lying, but because most people do not recognize the risk until it becomes personal. This documentary is not about fear. It is about awareness. Almost every foreigner who ends up in serious trouble here ignored the same warnings. Some mistakes ruin vacations. Some destroy finances. Some permanently change lives. And the biggest danger is not criminals or scams. It is something much closer than that. Before we go any further, there is one thing you must understand. Most disasters do not happen all at once. They happen in sequences. One small choice. One moment of overconfidence. One assumption that things will work out. Paul did not wake up planning to lose everything. He woke up thinking it was just another normal day. Danger number 1 is the leading cause of serious injury and death among foreigners in the Philippines. Motorcycles and scooters. This danger does not only apply when you are riding one. It applies when you are walking, crossing streets, or sitting in traffic. The road system here operates on a very different logic than most foreigners expect. Traffic laws exist, but enforcement and behavior vary widely. Some drivers stop at red lights. Others slow down. Many glance and go. Lane markers are treated as suggestions. Turn signals appear when convenient. Motorcycles weave through traffic with inches to spare because that is normal daily life. A British retiree named Ian moved to a quiet provincial city after retirement. He considered himself cautious. He always wore a helmet. He never drank and rode. He avoided riding at night and in heavy rain. One afternoon, he was traveling slowly through a neighborhood when a dog ran into the road. Ian swerved slightly to avoid the dog and hit a pothole he never saw. He was thrown from the scooter and struck his head and shoulder. The crash itself was not immediately life-threatening. What followed was, the nearest hospital capable of handling head injuries was nearly an hour away. Ian lay on the roadside confused and injured while people tried to help. Transport was delayed. By the time he reached proper care, his condition had worsened. Recovery took months. Medical bills followed long after he healed. A simple ride became a life-altering event. Foreigners often underestimate the roads here. There are stray animals, unmarked hazards, loose gravel, children near streets, and vehicles driving against traffic to pass congestion. You cannot control every variable. One unexpected moment is enough. For those unfamiliar with riding motorcycles, this is not a place to learn. For those who have not ridden in years, muscle memory is unreliable. Using ride services or hiring drivers may feel expensive until compared with the cost of injury. Saving money is never worth gambling your life. Paul ignored this danger early on. Riding felt freeing, cheap, convenient. It was easy to believe experience and caution were enough. That confidence would later play a role in what happened to him. Danger number 2 is one of the most emotionally damaging. Romance traps. This subject is often misunderstood. Most Filipinos are genuine, loyal, and sincere. This is not about blaming women. It is about recognizing patterns that target vulnerable foreign men seeking connection. These situations often begin online. A message from someone attentive and attractive. Daily conversations. Video calls. Emotional bonding. Compliments that arrive exactly when loneliness is strongest. Over time, it feels real. It feels personal. A Canadian retiree named Dennis experienced this firsthand. He met a woman online and spoke with her for months. When he arrived, she greeted him with family members. Everyone was welcoming. It felt safe. It felt genuine. Requests began slowly. Help with electricity. Medicine for a relative. Groceries. None of it felt unreasonable. Dennis wanted to be generous. He wanted to be respected. He said yes repeatedly without recognizing the pattern forming. Eventually, the larger request arrived. She was still married but claimed separation. She needed money for an annulment so they could be together properly. Emotionally invested and already helping financially, Dennis paid. Soon after, he began saying no to additional requests. The affection faded. Replies slowed. Calls stopped. The relationship ended. The money did not return. Dennis later described the realization as worse than the financial loss. It was the understanding that the relationship had been conditional. Love should never feel like a transaction. Helping once is generosity. Repeated emergencies are a system. Sending money before meeting in person almost always leads to regret. Once money enters the relationship, power shifts and rarely returns. Paul experienced a different version of this danger. It was not a scam. It was pressure, expectations, a belief that helping financially was required to belong. Over time, that pressure quietly drained resources he had not planned to spend. Danger number 3 is being drugged and robbed. Many associate this risk with other countries. It occurs in the Philippines as well, often quietly, often without violence, often without immediate awareness. An American named Rick met someone while out in Manila. Conversation was friendly. Drinks were shared. They returned to his hotel room. Rick remembers feeling unusually tired. Then nothing. When Rick woke, his wallet was still there. His cards had not been taken. He assumed nothing had happened. Within days, fraudulent charges appeared. Card details and identification had been photographed. Thousands were spent before the bank intervened. The goal is not always theft. It is information. Never bring strangers to your room. Never leave drinks unattended. Lock spare cards separately. Enable banking alerts before travel. Do not store images of sensitive documents on your phone. Danger number 4 involves transportation scams. Almost every foreigner encounters an attempt. The meter was not turned on. The meter is broken. There is no change. The situations are designed to exploit uncertainty and fatigue. The solution is preparation. Use ride apps when possible. If using taxis, ensure the meter is active before moving. Carry small bills. Decline unsolicited detours or recommendations. If you did not request assistance, it often comes with a cost. Paul encountered this early. The amount seemed small. He paid to avoid confrontation. Over time, these small losses reinforced a dangerous habit of compliance rather than awareness. Danger number 5 is health. This is the most underestimated risk. Tap water is obvious. Ice is not. Your digestive system is not adapted to local microorganisms. What locals tolerate easily can incapacitate visitors. Sealed bottled water should be used consistently at first. Ice should be avoided until you are certain of its source. Street food should be introduced gradually. These precautions are temporary but necessary. Heat presents another health risk. A German retiree named Walter attempted a midday hike to a waterfall. Steep terrain, high humidity, strong sun. Halfway through, he collapsed from heat stress and overexertion. Walter survived because others intervened quickly. Many are not as fortunate. Tropical heat magnifies fatigue. Hydration must be constant. Sun protection is essential. Physical limits should be respected. Paul ignored early signs of exhaustion. He pushed through discomfort. What began as fatigue later contributed to a medical emergency that forced him into a system he did not understand or plan for. Danger number 6 is sexually transmitted infections. This topic is uncomfortable but critical. Vacation environments encourage poor decisions. Short-term thinking often replaces caution. A foreigner named Jason declined protection during a brief relationship. Days later, pain and symptoms forced him into a clinic. Treatment resolved the infection, but not the stress, embarrassment, or disruption. Prevention is always easier than treatment. Protection should be non-negotiable. Temporary pleasure is never worth permanent consequences. At this point in Paul's story, several pressures were converging. Transportation mistakes, health strain, financial leaks, emotional decisions. None seemed catastrophic alone. Together, they narrowed his margin for error. This pattern is common. Foreigners rarely fall due to one mistake. They fall because multiple small decisions stack quietly until one event pushes them past recovery. In the next section, we will look at dangers that drain finances long-term. Housing traps. visa stress, hospital realities, social pressure, and the silent danger most foreigners never talk about until it is too late. Paul's turning point came shortly after. A health issue forced him into a hospital system he was not prepared for. That moment changed everything. Paul's health issue began as something minor: fatigue, dizziness, discomfort he assumed would pass. He delayed getting help because he did not want to overreact. When the symptoms worsened, he finally went to a local clinic. They referred him to a larger hospital. That referral would change everything. Danger number 7 is hospitals and medical cash reality. Many foreigners assume healthcare here is always cheap. Sometimes it is, but serious care works differently. Private hospitals often require deposits before treatment. Public hospitals can be overwhelmed and limited in resources. When Paul arrived at the hospital, he was told he needed admission. Tests were ordered. Treatment began. Then the conversation turned to payment. Deposits were required before procedures continued. Paul had insurance, but coverage verification took time. Bills accumulated quickly. This is where planning matters. Many foreigners do not know which hospitals are best equipped. They do not know payment policies. They do not keep emergency funds accessible. When illness strikes, confusion and stress multiply. Some hospitals require cash or card deposits before treatment. Some require family members to manage payments. Without preparation, a medical issue can become a financial crisis overnight. Paul's savings were not gone yet, but the pressure was building. Each decision now carried urgency. He was no longer choosing calmly. He was reacting. Danger number 8 involves housing agreements and landlords. Verbal agreements are common. Written contracts are often vague. Deposits disappear quietly. Repairs are promised but delayed indefinitely. A retiree named Michael rented a condo after a friendly handshake agreement. When issues arose, repairs were delayed. When he decided to move out, his deposit was withheld for vague reasons. There was no clear recourse. The loss felt small until combined with other expenses. Foreigners often assume contracts function the same everywhere. They do not. Documentation matters. Photos matter. Receipts matter. Without them, deposits become suggestions rather than obligations. Paul encountered this pressure too. His lease terms were unclear. When he needed flexibility due to health issues, costs increased unexpectedly. Another quiet drain on finances he had not planned for. Danger number 9 is visa stress and immigration mistakes. Overstays happen easily. Extension windows are missed. Rules change. Confusion creates panic. A foreigner named Alan missed an extension date by accident. Fines accumulated. Travel plans were disrupted. Immigration visits became stressful. What began as paperwork turned into anxiety that lingered for months. Visa issues rarely destroy lives directly. They erode peace of mind. They drain time. They compound stress during emergencies. Knowing extension schedules and planning ahead matters more than people realize. Paul delayed an extension while hospitalized. Deadlines passed quietly. Fees followed. The feeling of losing control intensified. Danger number 10 is becoming the rich friend. Generosity is respected in Filipino culture, but repeated generosity can become expectation. Helping once becomes helping always. Foreigners often want to be kind. They pay for meals. They help relatives. They lend money. Over time, boundaries blur. Saying no feels uncomfortable. Financial pressure grows silently. Paul helped where he could. It felt right at first. During illness, those obligations did not disappear. Expectations remained even as his ability to give declined. Danger number 11 is loneliness and mental health abroad. The honeymoon phase fades. Familiar support systems are gone. Isolation grows quietly. Some foreigners cope by drinking more. Others withdraw. Depression often goes unspoken. Pride prevents asking for help. Mental health struggles rarely appear in travel content, but they are common. Paul experienced this isolation in the hospital. Family was far away. Decisions felt heavier. Fear grew louder without familiar voices nearby. Danger number 12 is decision fatigue. When stress compounds, people stop thinking clearly. They accept bad terms. They rush choices. They miss options they would normally see. Paul reached this point. Medical pressure, visa concerns, housing uncertainty, emotional strain. Each issue fed the next. The margin for recovery disappeared. Eventually, Paul's sister flew in. Not for vacation. Not for celebration. She came to help him leave. Savings were depleted. Recovery required returning home. Paul's story is not unique. Versions of it play out every year, not because the Philippines is evil or dangerous, but because unfamiliar environments punish unpreparedness faster than expected. This brings us to the final danger, the one that causes most problems foreigners face. Yourself, your decisions, your discipline, your assumptions. Foreigners often let their guard down because things feel friendly and affordable. Rules seem softer. Consequences feel distant. That illusion is dangerous. The Philippines amplifies consequences. Small mistakes stack. Delays matter. Preparation matters. Respecting limits matters. Do not do anything here you would not do at home. Do not walk drunk in unsafe areas. Do not send money impulsively. Do not ignore health warnings. Do not assume things will work out. Millions of foreigners live here happily. They succeed because they plan. They set boundaries. They stay aware. They do not confuse kindness with safety. The Philippines offers incredible opportunities, beauty, community, freedom, but your experience depends on your choices. Control those choices, and you control the outcome. Sometimes the biggest danger is not the road or the water or the people around you. It is the voice that says everything will be fine without preparation. Paul believed that voice. Many do. Learning from his story is the difference between a dream life abroad and a forced return home. If you are planning to visit or move here, take these dangers seriously. They are not hypothetical. They happen quietly every day, but they do not have to happen to you. Preparation is not fear. Awareness is not paranoia. It is respect for a place that deserves to be experienced fully and safely. This has been PH Life Unfiltered. If this helped you understand the reality behind the postcards, subscribe for more honest conversations about life abroad. Be smart, be respectful, and take responsibility for your experience. If you found this documentary helpful, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. It helps this message reach more people who are thinking about traveling or moving abroad and could use this information before making life-changing decisions. Spreading awareness can genuinely prevent someone from ending up in the same situation you just watched. Thank you for being here and for supporting PH Life Unfiltered.